Alright, hopefully I am streaming over on the YouTube. If you're a friendly and you want to come up today and hang out with me, we're in Leviticus. Let's see. Leviticus. I think we're in chapter 7, but I am not. No, we're in chapter 6. We're in chapter 6. That's correct. So, hey, I hate to talk to myself. Hannah, if you want to come up, I'm going to share up the live real quick. I know that Justin is live right now. I know. So, we have some big names live right now that I'm competing against. But that's okay. It's okay. We're still going to do Bible study.
Good morning. You're a big name, you know that.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Well, in my world, you are, okay? I live in a world where you are.
Hey, Tahir, if any of you want to come up, guest box is open. We are Leviticus singing about sacrificing to this awful God, I guess, today. I'm going to see if I can get some of our other, let me see. Alrighty. Thank you guys for liking the live, sharing it out, doing all those good things. 166 of those. If you don't mind, send up those. But don't forget first to send me your heart me. Leave a comment. Do a pop your points so that we can be boosted out to the algorithm. We need to get to 5,000 likes, and there's only 7 of you in here. And others up are going to get some people in here, hopefully, and then they can help you like the live, and you're not doing it all alone. T-Rock will study, but if you want to join our Discord, if you're a non-believer, the link is in my bio. It's a deconstruction community, and once we get, but I don't bring up ops or people I don't know yet. You do know me? How do I know you? Do I know you by a different? I don't remember names a lot because our names on here are made up and they change and stuff. I forget you.
Sorry, I'm typing for a second here.
That's okay. That's okay. Sharing out the live, doing all the good things. We appreciate it. I don't know why they're filtering my comments. Is it Dagda? We have, okay, I'm going to bring you up. I'm going to trust you. Don't do anything. Hey, T-Rock. I am so sorry. I do forget people's names because
it's not
I
a
interact
problem.
with so many
I'm on.
you now, though, because this will be a court.
I'm a Bible college grad, but I'm atheist. So.
Okay.
I wasn't a theologian, but I did go to Bible college.
Oh, cool.
Shamster, the reason we're going through the Bible is one, a lot of we and Joel and Mezzo and all of them, and we want to gain more Bible knowledge like they have. So we're going through the historicity. We're going through, he says, without the Christian dogma and doctrine. And another reason is because I think that entire well-being, I should know what it says. So that's why I do it. You don't have to.
I agree. Leviticus 6, I'm going to try to read it before we keep going here.
Yes, Leviticus 6 is where we're going to be starting today. And I don't know how far we'll get. Leviticus seems to be fun so far. It's been all about sacrifice. And by the way, I just want to shut up this whole time. So I don't know who had the memory to remember everything God said in this. All right, you guys, we're going to go ahead and start reading. If you need me, I usually stop every paragraph. We can type have is charged this morning for me to look things up, but if not, I have the Jewish Study Bible, Tanakh translation right next to me, the Tanakh, the Jewish Study Bible, too, that we can look things up. But we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, when any of you sin in a matter of a deposit or a pledge, or by robbery, cost and lied about it, if you swear falsely regarding any of the various things that one may do, and would restore what you took by robbery or by fraud, or the deposit that was committed to you, or the lost thing that you found, or anything else that shall add 1/5 to it. You shall pay it to its owner when you realize your guilt, and you shall bring to the priest from the flock, or its equivalent, for a guilt offering. The priest shall make atonement on your behalf before the Lord, and you shall incur guilt thereby. You know, I didn't realize that they hurt first. You know, like they because Christians don't do that. They really ask God for forgiveness, and then that's it. And you'll hear them say, well, they said they were sorry. No, this says that you need to pay added on to what you did.
Right. And one thing that comes to my mind about this is one thing I don't really have a problem with is substitution for it. To me, that sounds pretty fair to me. But when it got to the level, I mean, are they still doing that? He followed these rules, right? But one thing that came to my mind was Jesus cursed the fig tree Did he ever make restitution for that? And was that a sin?
First of all, what about women? Because if a woman makes a vow and then her husband or her father tell her she can't do that vow, the father lies and says, no, I never told her she couldn't do that. She chose on her own not to do that. What does she do? And then, you can talk about that if you want first.
No. I was just thinking about
where the Crusades, excuse me, in the Crusades, when they had the they had them in the Middle Ages too, but like the penance you could buy from the church, I forget what they were called, but they're absolvent of sin. Does that come from that verse? Is that where they get that idea from?
Was it condolences?
I think, but that's why they got away with doing all the evil they did. Because, oh yeah.
Sorry, got the wrong word.
Been absolved of their sin before it happened, like the taking of a woman on her wedding night and stuff like that, before her husband gets her. That was so. Is that why they thought it was? I mean, not that they thought it was okay, but is that why they still chose to do it? Because even though they knew it wasn't okay,
thing and see if it answers any of those questions. Chapter 6, verses 1 through 6, the burnt offering. This refers to 1, 3 through 13, and not the Tamid or daily burnt offering, which is Exodus 29, 38, and elsewhere. May be burned throughout the night, but by morning the ash should be removed. Is that right? Does it say all that? No. What is it talking about?
Maybe that's just clarifying from previously what we know.
Yeah. So I'll keep reading it. Throughout the night, but by morning the ash should be removed, and the instructions for the ash removal by the priest, verses 3, 4. Nope. See, it said, wait, I'm going to see if I can show you. It says 6, 1 through 6.
Sorry.
Maybe it will explain itself here or something. The fire on the altar must be kept burning. Let me see what the verse 6, 1 through 6 says here. And I'm in Leviticus. I am in Leviticus. Spoke to Moses, saying, command Aaron and his sons thus. This is the ritual burnt offering. The burnt offering. What? Why is it not different than the New Revised Standard Edition?
I have no clue.
Oh, there's so many.
It's not obviously what we're talking about.
It doesn't correlate.
No, it does not correlate. Talking about the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, when any of you sin and commit a trespass, the Lord spoke to Moses.
And I'll just talk since you're looking. Is that okay?
Yeah, go right ahead.
The other thing that is just to clarify, I didn't know that much about Judaism, but I was taught from someone there that Judaism, harm who forgives your sin. At least that's what they said. So there could be other views, but that's just one point of view.
Interesting. That makes that evolved over time too it's hard to say, but to me that seems more practical and more responsible to take that. I mean, if you did something to somebody, you need to try to make restitution and try to not just say prayers to God, right?
Right. Well, and it's about, because it's my understanding at least was that it's about atonement, but you still have to make atonement if it's appropriate.
Oh, I didn't see the request. I'm sorry, you guys. I was looking.
One thing I real quick, I think about when I'm hearing this stuff about burn offerings, like, and I know some of the burn offerings were completely consumed on the altar, but many weren't. So really, and I'm being a bit facetious when I say this, there were, that's their motivation, free barbecue. You know?
Yeah, we were talking about this mega church pastors. Basically, they were eating the finest meats. They were dressed, sure they were allowed to keep. So, hey, Minister, how are you?
Hey everyone, had Chris Bible study for non-believers and decided to come up.
Okay, great.
Well, and I wonder if... Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Salaries, sometimes, not always, but just like any religion nowadays. I wonder if what the expectation is now is the best.
Oh, I don't know about every rabbi. I can only speak of my two friends. I know that Rabbi Hannah lives a very, very humble lifestyle. So,
Yes, she does, right.
You know, or live a pretty humble lifestyle too.
Okay.
You know, but I don't know. Oh, I have a new flash here. If you have not sent me a heart me, I need 8 people to do it. 8 different people. If you could send me a heart me in the next granite. All right. On to verse 8. You know, I'm gonna plug my eye.
So you don't lose it? I mean, lose the life? You're so picky.
I just want to plug it in so that we can for me to ask it questions. Search motionless and enclosed like a snow globe, contradicting heliocentrism. Okay, and saying this is the ritual burnt offering, the burnt offering itself. So this is what I was reading in the Tanakh.
Okay.
So that tells me where I should go. I'm going to be able to find it now. This makes sense. Okay. Okay, so for the Tanakh, that's the only difference. You know, because they didn't have chapter and verses, those were added in later, so they just separated a little differently. 20 through 26. Okay? Oh, it does 14 concluded sections, verses 14 through 19 and 20 through 26. And again, these verses are going to be different in other 7 because this is from the Tanakh Jewish Study Bible. And they the regulations concerning the atonement offering, the asham, required when trespass against the sacred sphere, deliberate or unintended cases of trespass against sacred objects and the sacred domain, and in cases of undiscovered to instances of false oath in property offenses, since the verb should the asham sacrifice is generally translated guilt offering. Its literal meaning, however, is to incurment of damages. Numbers 5, 7 through 8, 1 Samuel 6, 3 through 4, 6. This fact, along with the importance attached by P, as well as the Mesopotamia sacred, and to make reparations when this has occurred, make it preferable to translate reparation offering. Further, 13, 10 through 14, 19, 20 through 22, Numbers 6, 12, additional regulations of pillage, Hebrew ma'al, the tabernacle and its furnishings, and offerings and gifts that have been presented to it are sacrosanct. Their misuse or misappropriation 22:14, convertible by the sanctuary weight. According to this translation, the animal need not be sacrificed. The possibility is that the ram, which is to be offered in every case, must be one whose value is symbolically, I'm trying to find, misappropriated sacred property. This would also account for the name of the offering. Restitution is common to biblical and Near Eastern law. The priest shall make expiation on his behalf. It may be as performed within the hatat, but this is not certain. So, I don't think.
But at least we got to hear you read something that was almost impossible to read. So that was really hard.
Wasn't it?
I was going to say at the very beginning that Leviticus has got to be one of my least favorite books of the Bible. It's really hard to read.
Maybe what the maybe
No,
what
go ahead.
they're talking about is the reparations. What it was trying to say is the reparations that they have. But before it said that the amount had to be for the person, and this is now saying that it has to.
You're not the only person to read the Bible and get confused. Let me assure you. I think we've all.
Not be so judgmental.
I thought it was interesting. One thing that made me laugh is they said we can just take.
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious. That chuck gave me a chuckle. That was the most entertaining part of the.
Oh, is that where fasting came from when they had to do these sacrifices and they didn't have any food to eat? So they just said, we are fasting.
Hey, if you're one of my mods, you're going to notice that some of the comments are getting filtered. If you can click on those and approve when I do not like them filtering every comment. It drives me crazy. So you just click on it, I think, and then it allows you to.
Or it drives me crazy too.
Yeah, I hate that. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
I got a quick question for you, Crystal. It's a little, if I'm not mistaken, on Love's Live, you asked me about the Dhamma clone. Well, it's not a claim, it's a Sean Yahweh episode. Do you get a chance to look at it? I think I wrote you the episodes in the comments. I don't know if you saw them. 4 and to 776. He explains it very well.
I don't know. I mean, I've watched, cannot remember right now, but I have seen it explained with
Ben Elohim and every. He goes very hard on univocality on the Bible. He goes very hard on that. One of the strongest points when it comes to the Bible, because in my experience, I would say roughly 99% of the Christians univocality on the Bible.
Right. I
99% of them.
100%.
They have no idea.
You're wrong. They are all one cohesive thing. What are you talking about? I was really good at that.
My pastor says that evolution's not true, so there you go. Check
I know, right? Verse 8, I'm going to reread where I started there because I stopped and went and got a sidetrack into the Tanakh, and that didn't help us at all. So we're in Leviticus chapter 6, verse 8. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the ritual of the burnt offering. The morning, while the fire on the altar shall be kept, the priest shall put on his linen vestments. After putting on his linen ashes to which the fire has reduced the burnt offering on the altar, and place them besides the altar. Then he shall carry the ashes out to a clean place outside the camp. The fire on the altar shall be kept burning. It shall not go out. Bring on it and turn into smoke the fat pieces of the offerings of well-being. A perpetual fire shall be kept burning on the altar. And here,
well, it says that his sons could eat of it, so that kind of reflects the patriarchy from eating the barbecue. This barbecue's for men only.
you know, I made a video, I know, like you know, those little viral videos right now where somebody says, who said that? You know, and I made it about Bible, and the men who have been, you know, messaging me and telling me how loved women really are. Women has done that.
I also know somebody pointed out once that a woman has not started a single war throughout history.
No.
That blows me away that we still keep on electing men to office.
And all the lives on Thinkers Live say that women were blessed because in the Bible because they were given someone to take care of them. It was just like, what? Like, she just kind of froze for a half a second before she even responded.
As she does your laundry, makes your bed, washes your dishes.
Takes care of the kids with no help.
Right, takes care of the kids. That's a big one.
My wife takes care of me more than I take care of her.
I see.
I don't know. I'm the cook in my relationship.
I'm gonna go ahead and well, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Burn offering since we started to, so we could see what it was gonna tell us about this anyway in the Tanakh. This refers to the burnt offering of the individual discussed in 1:3 through 13, Exodus 29:38, and elsewhere. Two regulations are added here. The stipulation that the flesh may burn throughout the night, but by morning the ashes of corollary follows. The fire on the altar must be kept burning at all times. Since none of the flesh is eaten, these two regulations are the counterpart below for the remaining types of sacrifice. Command Aaron and his sons, because handling the flesh of burnt offer are the instructions concerning Hebrew Torah means body of instruction pertaining to the priest, not necessarily the next to his body. See Exodus 28:39 through 43. Since collecting the ashes involves contact with the high, why? Like, just right there, that's just stupid. Okay.
And then, you have to change your clothes.
Because it's linen more holy than freaking polyester. Why? Like, you didn't explain that at all. You just made another stupid.
Do you remember reading the Bible the very first time when I was like around 9, the first time that I read it just as another book. It's tough. They indoctrinate you when you're very little. They get you into it's a Catholic country, even though now I'm Pentecostal country now. But when I was a kid, they used to take you to, I think it's catechism, the right word?
Yeah.
Great. And but in catechism, they teach you the Bible. So it wasn't actually that I was going to do the first communion that I read the Bible I'm made of. Like this, like
they were making.
This is things that, like, what God is gonna write this? But I wasn't old enough to understand that people actually never do doctrines created by men.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it was like you said, theoretical. Why it says here? I mean, it's talking in plural here. It seems to be that we have this conflict here. Those were the things that led me to doubt it. Reading this kind of thing.
Whatever the Bible says is true. They'll say that, but they'll read it and then think, well, that's weird. Let me ask my pastor what I should think about this. They'll see a contradiction, agrees with it, then they'll just fall in line with whatever their little bubble says.
Well, sometimes are people really thought about these things?
And
the thing. I mean,
Yeah.
We
you know,
just regurgitate things. I will be really honest with you. When I major religions and I have found Christianity to be, I'm like, I said that, and I did not study all the. I used to say stupid shit like that.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Yeah, next
I
time
don't
and
know.
somebody
It's
says that,
just,
I'd be like, oh yeah, name 20.
I would name you
That is
three. They
good.
would be the three Abrahamic
Mhm.
ones, and
Yeah,
I would be like,
exactly.
yeah, I studied these, you know,
But one thing
whatever.
that people don't do, I was a Catholic, you know, since I was very little. And when I learned what was an evangelical, my first question was like, the
Right.
moment I learned that some people have a different religion other than mine, my first thing was, okay, I
Yeah,
the winning team, right? Okay, like,
Yeah.
right.
and
Yeah,
they don't ask themselves that questions very often. It's like they assume that they are part of the winning.
You
And
made a
you
good
know,
point
and
there. I mean,
oh, go ahead.
tribalism is a big motivator too. So not only are you parroting things that you also identifying with a tribe. So this is
Yes.
like this is my tribe. I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, or I whatever it is. You know, you're on. This is your
Yeah,
tribe, and they can do no wrong. You know.
and I used to tell them,
right.
Yeah.
and I still tell to Dominicans, it's like, hey, listen, we chief. It's like I mean, they do the same with politics. It's like, okay, I'm from this party, and that's it. I'm like, no, dude, like, for this, I mean, that's okay with in all areas of your life, because if you do
Like
that,
that.
you're gonna make wrong decisions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And about this all the time, and there is no answer, I think. But God sits here and He gives all these rules for how to. But if God's an all knowing God, knows how our brain thinks, knows how they work, why doesn't He tell us how to do that? How to actually how to communicate, and how to be kind to one another, or what to do when someone isn't kind. We have none of that.
Yeah,
But that brain
yeah,
to make us less volatile and more kind and more considering of others and stuff. But they've proven that.
you know,
And
the other thing
Branda,
I was
I
gonna say to what you were saying earlier, T Rock, was, you know, the other thing is that Christians are wrong,
Oh yeah.
Crystal. What if
Yeah,
you're wrong, Lobes, right? But they never ever ask themselves what damage has occurred. And there is so much bad if you are
Mm-hmm.
wrong as a Christian.
right.
The
There's a lot.
amount of continuing to be done and will be done in the name of this religion is unparable to what happens by me not.
What happens if I'm wrong, if I'm a Christian and I'm wrong, then I lose nothing. I just lights out. But like,
Right.
they don't ever consider that, like
Yep.
heaven or nothing, or hell or
one
nothing.
thing that I tend to ask them when they do that to me, my audience is like, is there any possibility that your interpretation, your denomination, whatever, is actually sure?
No.
I'm 100% sure. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, there are many religions out there.
Mm-hmm.
Are you very, I mean, are you there even to say that? Yeah, then we have nothing to talk about.
And no
What?
claims to the damage that, to the scriptures in the Bible that are like bad and stuff. Well, work that way. Nobody gets to be bad. Like,
they also will say you guys are never like open to change your mind. I am obviously open to change my mind because I was a Christian for 40 years.
The same
and
thing.
I changed my open your mind to change it. All right, let's get back to the Bible here. We're in verse 14, I believe.
all right, I'm gonna. Now that you have lots of people here, Crystal, I'm gonna go eat.
Being here, you guys make sure you follow Granite. She's amazing. And if you haven't heard her sing songs, you should. We're in chapter 6, verse 14. This is the ritual of the grain offering. The sons of Aaron shall offer it before the Lord in front of the altar, and oil of the grain offering with all the frankincense that is on the offering, and they shall turn it its memorial, Lord. Aaron and his sons shall eat what is left of it. It shall be eaten as unleavened cakes in a holy place in the court of the tent of meeting. I shall give it as their portion of my offerings by fire. It is most holy, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. Their perpetual due throughout your generations from the Lord's offerings by fire. Anything that touches them. Questions, comments, anything right there? This is boring.
Yeah.
I hate
It says perpetual due. 4th century, they stopped doing offerings. So
there's a lot of things that are perpetual in Leviticus and Exodus and Deuteronomy or whatever, where he'll say, you will do this until the end of time, or you will not, and my Jewish friends don't do that shit. So I don't think he knew what all time or all generations or perpetual meant.
yeah, and I would anticipate that
You would
There
think.
right.
There was something, we found stuff that dates back to like 2800 BCE, said children will listen to their parents. I was looking, I actually pulled this up on my live the other night, and it's really amazing just how, like, they have no concept of deep time.
Yeah. It is wild.
And also, man, we're very egocentric. Like they thought everything revolved around Earth in particular.
Yeah.
Like so, the sun was a star. I don't. If you look at Genesis, it doesn't differentiate.
The Earth orbited the sun. No, they had no clue.
And they thought the moon was a light source. You know?
They said the purpose of the stars is to create a lesser light at night.
No, I thought the moon was a lesser light at night.
I know
thought
the
that
moon
the moon was the lesser light at night.
The stars.
Then that would be a really bad
It shall be made with oil on a griddle. You shall bring it well soaked as a pleasing odor to the Lord. And so the priest anointed from among Aaron's descendants as a successor, he turned entirely into smoke. Every grain offering of a priest shall be wholly burned. It shall not be.
I'll be right back. I need to switch to myself.
Okay.
Yeah, and made me think of breakfast too. All you know,
Yeah,
oil on the
right?
grill. This is food. I mean, I'm a big foodie, so religion is food. Food motivated people to create religion.
When you're desperate, you'll pray to something that's not my food. Maybe he'll give you more food. So investment mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just don't think I would have thought at the time. I would have been like, no, should we eat this and give them what's left over? Like, I don't know. I think our God would. Okay.
If you recall, it's funny you said that, but as you recall, Jesus' first miracle was changing the water into wine, and everybody brought. That's why it was at the wedding. It was all water because every single person did not contribute anything. They just were trying to.
Okay. I'm sorry, did I leave off at 19 or 24? Let's see. Every burnt offering of the priest shall be wholly burnt. This is the ritual of the sin offering. The sin offering shall be slaughtered before the Lord at the spot where the burnt offering is slaughtered as a sin offering, shall eat of it. It shall be eaten in a holy place, in the court of the tent of meeting. Any of its blood is spattered on a garment. You shall wash the bespattered part in a holy place, and earth shall be broken. But if it is boiled in a bronze vessel, that shall be scoured and rinsed in water. Every male among the priests shall eat from which any blood is brought into the tent of meeting for atonement in the holy place. It shall be burned with fire. Time was often plagued with famine. That's why we hear about there was a drought or something. There would be a famine in an area, and they're just wasting food. Just burn that shit up. Burn it up. And then very poor people bringing their offerings, thinking they're not going to eat, but they're going to go burn that to God, you know?
Do we see that today too, though, that like we see people wasting, like they're the pastor and they're one time a friend of mine in tech school, when I was in tech school, we were roommates, and he said Benny Hinn came to the casino hotel and stayed, and he just didn't even touch the food. They had to throw it all away, or actually they ate the people that worked there ate the food that he was throwing away. Didn't even touch it.
Okay.
But they had a surplus, you know.
I don't know. We have to break things and stuff. Like, if it's bronze, you can wash it. All right, chapter 7. And I may have gone over chapter 6 last week, and we may have just repeated it, but I didn't remember doing it, so I wanted to do it. Offering. It is most holy. You know what? I have a little notation here. Oh, never mind. It's for something previous. Okay. It is most holy at the spot where the burnt offering is slaughtered, the sides of the altar. All its fat shall be offered, the broad tail, the fat that covers the entrails, the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them. And the priest shall turn them into smoke on the altar as an offering by fire to the Lord. It is the guilt offering. Every male among the priests is most holy. No women are priests and no women get to eat of it. All you women suck, just know that. The guilt offering is like the sin offering. There is the same ritual for them. The priest who makes atonement with it shall have it, shall keep the skin of the burnt offering that he has offered, and every grain offering baked in the oven, and all that is prepared in a pan or mixed with oil or dry shall belong to all the sons of Aaron equally. See, they're raking in stuff, so they get the skins, they get the extra food, they get the extra everything, you know? They're raking it in.
It's a model of, these are the millionaires, these are the ones that manipulate math to cross an entire, whatever you want to call it, colony of people. The math adds up, and you can live high on the.
This is the ritual of sacrifice of the offering of well-being that one may offer the Lord. If you offer it for Thanksgiving, you shall offer waters spread with oil, and cakes of choice flour well soaked in oil. With your Thanksgiving sacrifice of well-being, you shall offer 1 cake from each offering as a gift to the Lord. It shall belong of your Thanksgiving sacrifice of well-being shall be eaten on the day it is offered. You shall not leave any of it until morning. Free will offering, it shall be eaten on the day that you offer your sacrifice. And what is left of it shall be eaten the next day. But if any of the flesh of your sacrifice of well-being is eaten on the 3rd day, it shall not be acceptable, nor shall it be credited to the one that shall incur guilt. These are so stupid. If you don't do this, I don't know how anybody couldn't go. Really? God said that? Moses, are you sure you and Aaron didn't come up with this? This sounds stupid.
That's how it keeps going. Yeah. He said that he
it almost seems like. Oh, sorry.
No, just know that they're a stenograph person sitting there, like taking this all down for him. How did he remember all of this?
Me, that part of the control tool of the religion is to make so many rules and get you so focused on the behavior of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Not be eaten, it shall be burnt up. As for other flesh, all who are clean may eat such flesh. But those who eat flesh from the Lord's sacrifice of well-being shall be cut off from their kin. When any one of you touches any unclean thing, human uncleanliness, or an unclean flesh from the Lord's sacrifice of well-being, you shall be cut off from your kin. But we also don't forget, Jesus and the disciples, they didn't believe in washing their hands before they eat. But
you'd have to think was like early understanding of germs.
yeah,
Maybe.
eventually,
But I don't know.
because the Pharisees washing your hands, we do that around here now. And Jesus is like, hey, why aren't you stoning kids? And that's basically what happened there, you know. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the people of Israel, saying, you shall eat no fat of ox or sheep or goat, the fat of any other use, but you must not eat it. If any one of you eats the fat from an animal of which an offering by fire may be made to the Lord, but whatever, either a bird or of animal, in any of your settlements, any one of you who eats any blood shall be cut off from to use when he's talking to Christians who are against the LGBTQIA community. He'll say, boys, you're not allowed to eat any blood according to this.
Yeah, I remember that hearing that verse read when I was a kid, and I would see the blood, and I was like paranoid about it. So I mentioned it like, oh, Bible says we're not supposed to eat blood. I learned it in Sunday school yesterday, and my parents kind of looked. Now they trust me that it says that, but they also don't care. But they also don't want to.
Right.
They don't care. So they, that was then, and here's your meat. I was like, okay, works for me. Whatever. Just do this like all the other Christians. Just
because I was very ritualistic and very strict and very, as a kid, as a Christian little kid, I think it's okay.
it's not. Come on, you don't need to believe that hard. It only takes some mustard.
Right.
I remember I didn't
Right.
like it. I came up shade after reading it because it says you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. It's against the law, against God's law, and I had to find one, but I got apologetics from my youth pastor, and I don't remember what he said, but he convinced me that it was okay. So, and I asked my friend,
and how to get around that.
I asked my friend, like, you're not going to shave ever again? I was like, yeah, but I have to, like, I don't think I can work something, like, I'm like, well, it says right here, well, so what's the verse that says I can? He's like, well, you don't have to follow everything in the Old Testament. We have a new covenant. I'm like, yeah, sure, but what? Like, how do I pick? Because
Right?
I could apply that to any explanation. You could say anything. Like, how do you choose the right one of these categories? And he did not get it.
Exactly.
He's still very dogmatically Christian.
I mean, it's common sense that we shouldn't be circumcised. Still do it. It's common sense that unnecessary surgery shouldn't be done on anybody for any reason. Yeah.
And
weird. We still do it.
And those are the same people that are screaming and yelling about how damaging the surgery. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
When they ask for it, they're like, please do this to me. Yeah, I thought they were about liberty. Like,
Let me know in chat. I don't bring up ops on non-believer Bible study. I know that you've been here before, but just let me know. Okay. Did I think 28. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel, saying, any of you bring to the Lord your offering from your sacrifice of well-being. Your own hand shall bring the Lord's offering by fire. You shall bring the fat with the breast. The priest shall turn the fat into smoke on the altar, but the breast shall belong to Aaron and his sons. And the right thigh from your sacrifice, the one among the sons of Aaron who offers the blood and fat of the offering of well-being shall have the right offering, and the thigh that is offered from the people of Israel from their sacrifices of well-being, and have given them to Aaron the priest. And this is the portion allotted to Aaron and to his sons from the offerings made by fire to the Lord. Once they have been brought forward to serve the Lord as priests, perpetual due from the people of Israel throughout their generations. This is the ritual of burnt offering, the grain offering of well-being, which the Lord commanded Moses on Mount Sinai when he commanded the people of Israel to bring their offerings to the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai. Okay.
I'll talk to y'all later.
I was going to say, my interpretation is that they're just fighting over a bucket of chicken. You get the thighs, I get the breast.
Yeah, it does sound like that. Good to have you up, Lopez. I hope you guys all on chapter 8. And again, I might have just read you guys some chapters we had already done, but we have my Bible last week, so I didn't have. I used like the New American Standard, and I don't have that marked where we leave off. We left off. If you're friendly, etc., or anybody else who's friendly, and you want to come up, to come on up. We are now in chapter 8. We're going to go over the rites of ordination. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take Aaron and 2 rams and a basket of unleavened bread, and assemble the whole congregation at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Moses stood at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Moses said to the congregation, this is what the Lord has commanded to be done. Now, is the congregation, is that all the people? Because there's like gotta be 1 million or 2 million or so. Somebody's here. Maybe she can come up. Because these are the questions I have. Are all of the people there?
I also...
Hey, Rabbi.
Hello.
Oh.
Right. Hi, everyone. Again.
Hi.
I also question is, when they write, this is what the Lord has spoken. So you think about the implications of that. So it's a human being speaking on a lot of authority, right? I mean, it's kind of suspicious. Well, like, what if you're wrong, kind of, you know?
We read, or this was like back in Exodus, Moses or whatever, he said that whatever Moses says, you are all right, Rabbi. See you in a minute. So yeah, so he is the voice of God to these people because forever.
So what if you're wrong?
That was another perpetual one.
What if you're just making that up, right? You know, if we look at nowadays, how many people say that they're Jesus or say that they are God's messenger or God's prophet or some bolster their claims about God with some type of title or some type of giving themselves some type of
They
people
do
just kind of
something
blow off
heinous,
people like that. Yeah.
or they do something heinous and say that God told them to do it, and then people say, well, obviously heinous things in the Bible. Yeah, but that was different.
Right. An example would be David. A great example after God's own heart. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of, you know,
I was just saying that earlier this week to Big Dog.
I mean,
said,
he,
because David was not a good person.
That's the
And
rational conclusion, right?
Yeah, like, I don't want that God.
No. Me
I
neither.
don't want that God. Give me a
And for
different
those who don't know, David a naked lady, and then he called for her to come over, and then he slept with her, and then he unalived her husband and back.
No. He abused his own power as king the minute he required her to come over and sleep with him. That's
Now,
not
granted,
consensual.
God did punish him for that.
He did not punish David. He punished
He punished his
child.
children, right?
He unalived wives raped by David's son in public.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Nothing
That's
happened to David. David got away with one.
And you'd expect if a just God was making the rules, he wouldn't have gone that path.
Especially, that's what's confusing with him too, because in some parts of the Bible he says that, a child, but then in other verses it says, I will punish you for, up to 10 generations. So,
right.
Do you punish this?
Well, one thing I see throughout the text from Genesis to Revelation is there's both sides. And kind of, we see that a lot in politicians. Like if they're over in, Detroit, Michigan, they're going to say one thing to that or that.
Oh.
God the Bible kind of does the same thing.
Absolutely. Hey, you guys, thanks. And also thank you for the gifts. I am looking for more subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, think of doing so today. It's less than a cup of coffee a month. Honest atheist reviews. I give you Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. We do special subscriber-only events, and I don't know, $2.49 the first month, $2.99 after. If you, I'm lagging. I think that was just because I was bringing Rabbi. A lot have already subscribed. Consider gifting out some subscriptions. The chat loves it. Okay, Rabbi, here's my question. Okay, we're in.
Okay, hold on, let me get there.
Okay.
Let me get there. I just got into my office. Today I was kind of bumming around. I'm doing a thing called Daf Yomi, or Daf Yomi.
Ooh, what's that?
And Daf Yomi is where you read a page of the Talmud every the Daf Yomi cycle.
You told me about this before.
Yeah, I'm about 3.5 years in. We're in now track 10. I was like, okay, I need a little brain relaxation because it's heavy duty stuff. Okay, you said Leviticus 8.
It says Moses said to the congregation, and what I want to know is, thank you, Tahir, is the congregation, does that mean people standing there?
So there are not millions of people standing there. It is speaking to the people who are there. Now, this is after, the tradition says that he has given all of the Torah at once. So all of after that, every time it's like, hey, God said this, and so everything there is when he says speak to the congregation of Israel or speak to Israel and say this, it's the people from Egypt, from slavery. Now that being said, of course, but the narrative, of course, is supposed to be the entirety of the people of Israel. So I don't know if you want academics.
I like all your information.
Okay, so theologically, it is the 600,000 people that left Egypt. Sinai, you're getting the law. Obviously, academically, this is supposed to represent the law code to the people as sort of like if you're looking at any of the ancient Near East law codes. These are ways that they are trying to keep there is going to be their law code. It is taken from Canaanite law code, Hammurabi law code, Sumerian law code, and writers and redactors who are making it elevated by saying, no, we are doing this because our God tells us to do it.
Rabbi, can I ask you something along those lines?
Absolutely.
So you said theologically
Well, you two chat, I'm going to get a drink.
You said it was coming at the 600,000.
Academically, 600. To start
I'm on
with.
board with that.
You would see pottery sherds, you would see all kinds of things in the natural strata, and we have none of that.
Absolutely, but what I'm asking is kind of how did the Jewish lineage or the differentiation, how did it evolve? Was it a Canaanite?
That's a great question.
Derivation that like differentiated themselves via like we don't eat pork type things.
So here's the thing,
there is many, and you see them in the text. So, underneath kind of like this Canaanite area, we also have the Hittites, the Moabites, the Hivites, all of those groups, part of the dividing of given when the El Elyon, the Most High, gives away these nations and
portions them by the number of gods. I don't know why I'm using my hands. You guys can't see me. We're all.
That's fine. Do it. That's why we love you.
That's where we start to see the different regional tribal affiliations kind of develop in their own ways. So you act together and then carry on through there. So what started out as one kind of this overarching umbrella of Canaanite region, Hittites, Moabites, and then they come back together at a later time when monology and when monotheism is starting to take that kind of like shift into the monotheism that eventually is what is born out of that is, what we would know.
Say something really quick, unrelated.
Oh, absolutely.
Hang on one second. I have 1 minute, 15 seconds left to give one. If anybody can gift one, we just need one more to. Yeah,
yeah, I'm already a subscriber. I'm like, no. So that's what we see, and then we see that even then you're then factioned off. You have these we're factioned off into Pharisees, Sadducees, like Essenes, Samaritans, and all of those are Jews, by the way. Like maybe if we're going to use a modern comparison, you could maybe compare them to Ashki denominations. Orthodox, those are all different sects who are approaching these texts in completely different ways.
Right. But you said they split the Canaanite faction split apart, and then they came back together.
So what I mean by that is the Canaanite being the overnight gods. And that's why we see within the biblical text, you see Canaanite gods. Baal, El, narrowed in to Canaanite pantheon, not an originator of the Canaanite pantheon.
Right. But like the faction of Israel split off to
from
the southern part,
kingdom? Yeah.
Was that kind of what you're referring to?
Yes.
Or okay. Split
of, migration patterns of the way that families would intermarry and move, with their whatever tribal affiliation. You see it kind of come back together. An interesting find is in 1913 statues of Asherah in Jerusalem that were dated back to the 1000 BC. Farther away from Israel, they found more, but they were changing. So they were not shaped the same, appearing the way that region saw her. So the statues you found in Jerusalem might look different than the statues you found 50 miles west.
Yeah.
Rabbi, I think your ancestors definitely worshipped, like thousands of years ago, probably worshipped Asherah at one point.
They specialized in school. Asherah, yes. So, and there is nowhere that we have found that shows she's more edited into the text that we see now as a way to edit her back out.
Yeah.
It's a very weird way they did it, but there was nothing to give us any indication that the worship of Asher are right alongside.
Yeah.
Let me say some really quick, real quick. I'm sorry, Clara. I do and watch. Check about the hour 20 mark. Hour 15 mark. Okay. I'm sorry.
I love the way you call it on the YouTube, because that's what I do just to make my kids mad. I'm like, I'm gonna make a video for the TikTok, and my kids just look at me like, Mom, I was on the YouTube, and they just look at me like I'm old and need to get out of their way.
Yes.
My grandma used to say, "Nintendo, get off that Nintendo."
Yeah, I'm old. And I'm so sorry. I know you guys are in Leviticus here, so.
Questions. Well, hopefully you don't mind we have us asking you.
No, ask away.
All right, we're in chapter 8, and we're now going to be in Then Moses brought Aaron and his sons forward and washed them with water. He put the tunic on him, fastened the sash on him. He then put the decorated band on the ephod around him, tying the ephod to him with it. He placed the thummim, and he set the turban on his head, and on the turban and Ford commanded Moses. Okay, so is there anything you would want us to know specifically about these verses, or T-Rock, do you have any?
So what I would say here is that this is a demonstration of the separation. So this is where the separation between those who are meant to work as temple guards, as the priests. Aaron was chosen, his sons, of course, because it's a lineage, they're also just the high priest. And so the accoutrement that is being placed upon Aaron is there, and now the non-priest class. The ephod being one that is described as having 12 stones on the front, to show that the priests are in devotion to not only God, but every member of every tribe, that are all under Hashem kind of thing.
I always tell people this. I don't tell about the stones that are in the breastplate, and they like try to say like or something, right?
No.
Well, yeah, because they're common to that area. Like that doesn't prove you're Jesus. I just in that area.
And for me, they always come back to me with Ron Wyatt, and if Ron Wyatt has no enemies, I am definitely his. I understand he has passed, but he can still catch all the smoke. Like, I'll dig him up, beat his ass, and put him back.
All propaganda archaeology claims lead to Ron Wyatt.
And for those in the comments, just so you're aware, Ron Wyatt was not in any way, shape, or form was he connected to archaeology. But he has put back biblical archaeology so many centuries because of his nonsense.
Rabbi, I have a question for Rabbi before we move on.
Go ahead.
What, I don't even know if I can do justice to the pronunciation of it. Can you describe what that is?
Oh, so they were.
Okay, I'm not the only one struggling. Good.
No, you're fine. You're not struggling. I'll tell you what. To actually describe it.
I'll read on. We'll read down through verse 17, from 10 to 17. Then Moses created them. He sprinkled some of it on the altar 7 times, and anointed the altar and all its utensils, and the basin and its head, and anointed him to consecrate him. And Moses brought forward Aaron's sons and clothed them with tunics and headdresses on them, as the Lord commanded Moses. He led forward the bull of sin offering, and Aaron and his sons laid there. Moses took the blood and with his finger put some on each of the horns of the altar, purifying the altar. Then he poured it to make atonement for it. Moses took all the fat that was around the entrails and the appendage of the liver and the the bull calf itself, its skin and its flesh and its dung, he burned with fire outside the camp, as the Lord had commanded. Any questions, or did you figure out how to explain the Urim and the Thummim?
Is this something, is the used? Oh, sorry, she's probably offline.
Yeah, she might. We'll give her a minute. I'll do a commercial while we wait for her. You guys, thank you for being here. Thank you. 25,000. I know it's only 16 of you, so if you all got, a special little toy, you could always put that toy to the studio. Also, I have a gift bowl today of the little kitty cats. They are 1 coin each. Help me smash. If you could do that, that would be great. And thank you so much for gifting all those subscriptions. Thank you, Tahir. But thank you to everybody who gifted up the subscriptions. If you are now a subscriber, why don't you drop some of my fun little stickers of me, of my granddaughter, and of the Divine and Decline game. Also, don't forget to share out the live. I am not going to be here next week. I will try to next couple of weeks visiting people and doing things out in Austin area, so I'm going to be kind of busy. That's why I don't have, but if you are a creator in the deconstruction space and you would like to come on Decon Q&A with the end of July and starting up in August, okay? Hey Joel, how are you today? Good to see you. Joel reads Bible as you Bible, because he does it better than I do.
I think you do a great job, and I apologize. I missed what you were asking because my daughter came. So the Urim comes from possibly the word or, which is like light. So innocence or even completeness. So depending on your root theory of these words, together they can mean. Of course, we've kind of read through Leviticus, and it appears in Exodus, appears again in Numbers, and what they were. There are some theories, possibly a couple of objects like stones or sticks. For the Septuagint translates it as truths and light, so possibly metaphorical for clarity and decision. Symbolic items maybe that were embedded in the early, but there is some belief in midrashic texts that they weren't like casting lots, but they glowed or shipwreath. Or like Jacob Milgram and Carol Myers talk about them functioning like like the lots or liver reading. Right. Yeah, so right. There's not really a concise like, hey, this is what they absolutely. Theologically is meant to say, not always were people being able to ask God, so you would go to the priest, and here's where the clarity, the light, the understanding plays in.
So we may have lost this.
As I mentioned, we don't really have a concise understanding of even what they looked like or what their function was. Yeah, or demonstrating the blessings of the divine onto the priestly class.
Now, do you think they might have been sanitized out of the religion, maybe?
Oh, you mean as in kind of removed out of religion?
Yeah, on purpose.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, there is a possibility. I will not say with definite, because there's no definites in thing where it's kind of edited out. It's just also possibly the descriptions of them were not and rejecting together the Septuagint.
Right. And also, I take it like you guys do a lot of rituals. They didn't retain those parts. Do you have anything in your rituals?
That's a really good question. So, one Vedic Judaism, and strangely enough, its foundation is Pharisaic Judaism.
Oh.
While it's of the time, they actually were not. Okay. It was the Sadducees that were. The Pharisees believed that everyone should have everyone, that the adherence to law should not be so strict that it excludes people, but allows for growth. Who dislike Jews is based on the fact that they call us Pharisees, but Pharisees were the ones who were actually fighting first century Judea, Levant area, and that is what Rabbinic Judaism is built on. But once, to answer your question, that we could no longer do. So we could no longer do sacrifices, bring things to the temple. So we had to rebuild out the way of us, but without the presence of the temple. So like the Seder that you were referencing, the Seder itself means order, as shown or written about within the text. And then we are supposed to, the mystical part of this, who are with these slaves escaping Egypt. We are supposed to put our minds there as if we are going through it. And then Godzilla frog.
What? Okay, that's a side
Yeah, the
note.
way
That's
that's a
we'll
side
have to
note.
talk about that
Yeah,
sometime.
so the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur, where we do our fasting and get ready for the new year. All of those are remnants of, but yes, they have been unalived out as a people group. And so what we do now looks nothing like what a Jew would do in the Second Temple Age.
Right, and that's, ubiquitous. But I mean, my background is Protestantism, so I'm used to going into a church where all there is in terms, and I think it's kind of a shame that we departed from Catholicism, because I think a lot of that artwork is a repository of history.
Church with stained glass windows.
Oh, I have.
I did.
In Los Angeles.
I did. But a lot of them have
I grew up
sanitized
in
it out.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
None of the Methodists and the Quaker and non-denominational at one point. They did not adhere to. They did not have Mary or saints by any means. That was
Right.
not going to
Yeah, so with Catholicism, I would, as you know, my brother is an Anglo-Catholic priest.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, he's on.
I might know.
So, he goes by the Hierophant here on TikTok. That's my brother's edit.
Hierophant. Okay. If I run
Tim
into him.
is his. Tim is his English name. If anyone ever calls him his Hebrew name, but so I love the ritual. In fact, I teach Intro to the Old Testament and Hebrew.
Oh.
He asked if I could come and help out. So I teach
May I ask
his
where you
graduate
teach?
school, Franciscan Graduate School.
Oh, okay, cool.
A lot of beautiful ritual. I do know, like, as much as they've tried to hold on to and preserve, like, these ancient ritual ways of how they do their ritualistic worship.
And I admire the fact that French Franciscan Graduate School is where
Rabbi coming into it. Like,
I know I would never be accepted in the Assemblies of God, even though I have some expertise in Bible, but because that's, you're demonic now. Even though you have these memories and you know stuff.
The board knew absolutely that I was a Jew, that I'm a rabbi anyway. And I'm like, I'm going to teach it from the Jewish perspective because that's what the book is for. And they said that's what we want. We don't want full picture of the text.
Rabbi, we have a question from chat.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
awesome. Okay, cool.
Grana wants to know if restitution needs to be made to God and to people, because we were reading earlier, I think it was in chapter 7, about how you have to do something to somebody else. You have to add a fifth of the value onto the item to make restitution to the person. before.
Again, we are no longer in an age where we have sacrificed to Hashem at all. So what we do now is called tshuva, and that means you're returning to a better version of oneself. And in that, and I'm just going to use Crystal as the example. Came back from Miss Abami and just knocked her out. I didn't hurt God. So going to give something, yeah, God don't care. I didn't hurt him. But I did hurt Crystal. So the what I'm supposed to do is make Crystal whole. So the Talmud says I have to add on compensation for emotional and mental damage, the whole thing. And then I have to go through a period of, there's nothing in Jewish law that says you must forgive somebody who has wronged you. The person who has wronged you is required to be as innocent, like, I'm sorry, you have to show explicit change for that teshuvah to be complete. So coming to Crystal, I would have to show change. She can still say, nah, fam, I do not forgive you, and that's okay for her, but also I'm released from Shuva behavior after like the third time. We got a thing about threes. And then it says, we say, okay, you don't want to forgive me, what are you supposed to do?
Oh, I like that. Because I don't think people should have to forgive people.
You don't have to. Yeah, the Christian thing.
Yeah, and I think the thing with evangelical... I'm sorry.
When you know the person's going to do the same thing to you again, because you're supposed to forgive them 70 times 7.
No.
And also,
abuse.
That's
and
true.
Also, the Torah had to forgive, or we wouldn't be forgiven.
Yes.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's horrible.
I get it in terms of they're trying to get away from this idea of, and I hate to say it this way, but from that kind of society that was about eye for an eye. And but they don't understand the eye. Who have done this much damage, you are required to fix that damage. And you are responsible for fixing that damage. But we try very hard not to get angry and meet people where they are, especially myself, although my patience with anti-Semitism lately is the person who I look to when I think about the way that Judaism is, what Judaism is supposed to be portrayed as, and how it's supposed to be mixed. And he was notorious for having patience with everyone, constantly having patience. And his students would try. They would literally try to frustrate him. What do you need? And I still ascribe, one of these days I'm going to attain that peace. Okay. I still have a little, I have a little Shemai in that respect. Hillel of Hillel and then Bet Shemai, and in that way, like, I want to give everyone grace, and then the Shemai part of me is hit them with the stick and tell them to go the hell away until they're sick. Yeah, BC.
You mean turn of the millennium?
I mean he was
turn of the millennium.
He was a teacher to Jesus.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Because I thought in my studies of the Bible that Jesus, did he adhere to?
Some of Midrashic text is that Jesus was a student of Gamaliel, and Gamaliel was a direct student of Hillel. And most argument against Bet Shammai.
Okay.
But Shammai had good teachings. He was more about the strictness of the law. The law says we make sure it adapts so everyone can do this.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'd probably be more along.
Guys, but we're getting really off track.
I know. I'm sorry. Occupational hazard.
No,
I
you're
apologize.
fine. You are fine. We asked you a lot of questions. So, okay. That's on the head of the ram, and it was slaughtered. Moses dashed the blood against all sides of the altar. The ram was cut into split. Hey, while you're doing that, T-Rock, can you mute while I'm reading?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. And after the smoke, the whole ram on the altar, it was a burnt offering for a pleasing odor, an offering by fire to the Lord as the ram of ordination. Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram, and it was slaughtered. Moses took some of its blood, and on the big toe of his right foot, after Aaron's sons were brought forward, Moses put some of the blood on the lobes of their right ears, and on the thumbs the rest of the blood against all sides of the altar. He took the fat, the broad tail, all the fat that was around the entrails, the append from the basket of unleavened bread that was before the Lord. He took 1 cake of unleavened bread, 1 cake of bread with oil, and 1 wafer, and placed them on the palms of Aaron and on the palms of his sons, and raised them as an elevation offering before the Lord. Then Moses took them from this was an ordination offering for a pleasing odor, an offering by fire to the Lord. Moses took the breast and raised it a portion of the ram of ordination, as the Lord commanded Moses. Okay. What would you like us to know about this program?
What translation are you reading from?
I'm reading the New Revised Standard, but not the updated edition.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, not only this is literally the prescription for now how priests are made. The blood on the right lobe, the right thumb, the right big toe into the priestly class. Even though it's a lineage, you still had to be consecrated. The oil put upon you, the offering created. Like in 829, when Moses takes the breast, that was Moses' share that he had to give to show that he is part of this ordination of giving front up. Or the elevated, meaning they lifted it up in their arms and basically were showing it off to God before they.
Significant on the right lobe, the right, the right thumb, the right.
So, dam, blood, is life, which is why we're not allowed to. It is the life force of a person. It is used, conversely, we see it used as a way to purify a person who has had come in contact with a passed over body, things like that. That is kind of the theological implications, is that the life blood here So blood is a very important part of these kind of tribalistic rituals because it is showing the life going into to Aaron and his sons, which is why blood was so important in these kind of ritual sacrifice life. That cannot be kind of returned. The same reason why the big sacrificing the procreation, the lineage that would come from that animal. So it was considered a higher sacrifice because you're no longer
So what did the significance of the right body parts?
Because the left side was kind of seen as the we have like the left side is like called like almost like not sinful, but not the, whereas the left side of the body is kind of seen as the thing that does not bad stuff, but if you were somebody who was left-handed, person you were taught to write, you have to write right-handed, these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Because
they
the left side,
demonic.
yes, and sinister. So the right is the more holier side is really what it just amounts to. Is they're doing it on the right side because the right.
I'll just make a note in my Bible here. God hates lefties.
No, or at least people did.
Okay. When Moses took some of the anointing oil and some of the blood also on his sons and their vestments, thus he consecrated Aaron and his vestments, and also his sons and their vestments. And Moses said to Aaron, and eat it there with the bread that is in the basket of ordination offerings, as I was commanded. Aaron and his sons shall eat it. And what remains aside the entrance of the tent of meeting for 7 days until the day when your period of ordination is completed. For it will take 7 days to run to make atonement for you. You shall remain at the entrance of the tent of the meeting day and night for 7 days, keeping the commandment. Aaron and his sons did all the things that the Lord commanded through Moses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
any questions, T-Rock? Anything?
Them going on their kind of spiritual purification. You're required. You're separating yourself from the rest of the people, and you're supposed to be there in prayer and communication with the divine. And when it says here, you must do what the Lord requires, so you will not. But you can't go out hunting. You can't do anything that would take you outside the tent of meeting. 7 days. Because 7 is a huge number also in Judaism. It's kind of like the completion of. So that's why you see 7 by 7, you have 40 that is talked about in the beginning of Genesis. So this creation period is kind of almost like simulating the birth period.
Okay. So left-handed children have been punished. People in general did not understand there were some people who were naturally left-handed. They thought there was something wrong with the child if they didn't use the right hand as as their dominant hand. A lot of another example of them thinking that the right side of the body being normally the dominant.
Right.
Okay. We are going to go ahead and read chapter 9 in my bathing suit that I ordered on Amazon. So I'm heading out to Austin next week, and okay. Aaron's priesthood inaugurated. On the 8th day, by the way, these titles. On the 8th day, Moses summoned Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. He said to Aaron, take a bull calf for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt people of Israel. Take a male goat for a sin offering, a calf and a lamb, yearlings without blemish for a burnt before the Lord, and a grain offering mixed with oil. For today the Lord will appear to you. They brought what Moses commanded, drew near, and stood before the Lord. And Moses said, this is the thing that the Lord commanded you to do, so that the glory near to the altar and sacrifice your sin offering and your burnt offering, and make atonement for yourself and for the people, atonement for them, as the Lord has commanded. Okay, anything we should know?
The setup of how all of the offerings of the temple are going to go. So we see here Aaron kind of giving his final purification process for myself and my son. So the coming to the altar, offering their own sin offerings of the congregation and the people of Israel, they are also still commanded to participate because they are they're not free from must participate in these as well.
We're in Leviticus chapter 9. T-Rock, did you have any questions or any comments? Drew near to the altar and slaughtered the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself. The sons of Aaron presented the blood to him, and the rest of the blood he poured out at the base of the altar. But the fat, the kidney, and the appendage of the liver from the sin offering, and the flesh and the skin he burned with fire outside the camp. Then he slaughtered the burnt offering and the altar, and they brought him the burnt offering piece by piece, and the head, which he turned into smoke on the altar, turned them into smoke on the altar. Okay, anything we should know so far, or should I?
Kind of continuation of the process of establishing the priestly class. We're going to see basically Aaron come out and show to the people and the fellowship offering, and we're going to see that as kind of the conclusion of now we of the congregation or the people of Israel.
Okay. Next, he presented the people's offering, presented it as a sin offering like the first one. He presented the burnt offering and sacrificed it according to regulation. He presented the grain on the altar in addition to the burnt offering of the morning. He slaughtered the ox and the ram as a sacrifice of well-being for the people of the altar, and the fat of the ox and the ram, the broad tail, the fat that covers the entrails, the two kidneys. They first laid the fat on the breast, and the fat was turned into smoke on the altar. And the breast and the right thigh Aaron raised. Aaron lifted hands toward the people and blessed them. And he came down after sacrificing the sin offering, the burnt offering, and the offering of wheat, and then came out and blessed the people. And the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people. Fire came out from the Lord, and when all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces. Okay. Moses and Aaron entered the tent of the meeting, and they came out and blessed the people, and the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people.
Okay, so like traditionally the glory of the Lord is supposed to be like this glowing, hey, this is the proof of all these things. Now, in Jewish tradition, that glory would be the Shekinah, that she dwells in exile, which states that every time we do mitzvah, every time we do right, we're able to draw her closer to out of exile kind of thing. So this is really what they're saying, is that people were chosen for the priestly class and to set up the priesthood. These are the people I have sanctified. You see the presence of the Lord here. But you notice that we see an anthropomorphized God on Mount Sinai with the giving of the law and the giving of all of this. But now this cannot really be touched. Presence. Kind of showing now that there is this separation between God. So, because when we go farther in, we'll see that the priest can go in and talk to God face to face. But now there's the separation between it, as it were, and I say that loosely, versus the anthropomorphized God that would walk around with Abraham and get yelled at.
I've spoken before about this kind of glory because I told you that I had never really heard of it before until I Apostle, and it's not the same for Pentecostal people as almost like a Holy Spirit thing that kind of comes over you and makes you act ridiculous.
Right.
Is how I would put it.
That is what I've heard.
Tell how it's more like a feminine.
Yes. So in the Jewish tradition, she is called in an aspect, depending on how you look at it, is either attached to or separate from. But what it is in reality, if we're going to mention, is she's the Asherah. She's just a repackaged. She's repackaged Asherah. She is the wife of, the consort of, who goes along with the Jewish people. She is the divinity that we call in when we're saying, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, what we are saying is we are welcoming the Sabbath bride, i.e. 25 hours, that is the Sabbath, that she is supposed to help us with our rest. She is designed to be with the people and Hashem. That is the understanding. But like in terms of how she got there, she literally is just a of Ashra. Is there a Holy Spirit in Judaism? Not the way there is in Christianity. So, based ideology. Now, it's based off the idea of what we would call Ruach HaKodesh, which just means breath of holy. Like the wind, the rushing is what intermingled with the deep. Also, by the way, if you into that mystical crap, the Shekinah at the beginning of the world. Breathes over the, which has a lot of meaning in terms of water being life and being the womb. So I'm going to get a little esoteric here. If we the story of Noah, the ark is called a Bayetza, which, by the way, is egg. So you have this womb-like place for 40 days before it emerges and this rebirth happens. The beginning of Vohu, all of that is talking about the life spirit, the life of Hashem intermingling with the in ancient times would have been, I'm sorry, but it had Smex with, hovered over these waters, this feminine energy, and created through scripture. With Miriam, if you notice, she's the one who dances through the Red Sea with her timbrel, and then a well appeared, water. When she passes, it says in the text, the well disappeared. The huge feminine, like priestly spirit that goes with Miriam is gone.
Wow.
So not the way.
It would be poetic language for Miriam and how many children she had.
Absolutely, I would agree with you.
Without giving like specific referent to go and they rested. A well was formed, which means that she could have just been really fertile.
I mean,
that's not how Codex, like, it depends on your theological view. Like, Codex views it completely different.
Of course. Yeah, but yeah, from the.
It agrees with you.
Oh, I know it does. I know it.
Right.
Some of the underpinnings, when you see Miriam speak on her role as prophetess, and does not God also speak to Aaron and I?
Mm-hmm.
And she's I never say this right. The white patches all over her. She has to leave the camp for 7 days. One of my dear colleagues, she and I have known each other for 20 years, Rabbi Jill Hammer, posits that was her becoming priestess. That part is kind of edited out, but her thumb, her ear, her toe. But we never really quite talk about it. It's just alluded to within the text.
Was there anything else anybody else wanted to add or ask or anything about today's Leviticus?
Yeah, this is definitely the setup for the separation of the and sanctification of the priests of the temple.
Gotcha.
So
Oh,
the
yeah.
nature of
Then
the
we
nature of
get
contingent beings is to be in resonance with the necessary. The establishment of the priesthood shows that they being, but because we operate in such a disjunct from the necessary, when it's supposed to serve as an example for all. And Miriam's thing was also an example where she goes, if it's not a state of resonance for all people. And so that's the ultimate end goal, is that we are all like priests. We interact with them.
I
Very
don't think so.
interesting.
We are gonna have a we're gonna have a difference of opinion there, but that is, yeah. So obviously, when we get into Leviticus 10, that's where we see the new stuff come in: the strange fire and Nadab and Abihu.
Yes, yes. I want to read that story. That's that's next week. No
Okay.
Bible study next week because I will be in Austin. I'm gonna go, and so I'm gonna take that week off. And the following week, I'll be doing my show from Austin because I'm still gonna be there. After that, I'll be back. And I will be taking new guests starting the end of July, going through your creator on TikTok or YouTube. And you'd like to be on Decon Q&A with CrystalJae, just send me a DM on TikTok or Discord. It is open to everybody. Come join us over there. And also the Deconstruction Junction link is in my bio as well. Rabbi Hannah, thank you so much for being here. And
I love teaching. It is, well, I love Haverah, which is basically what this is, a study, discuss it and go through it critically and line by line sometimes. So I'm very much a person who loves the Haverah.
Well, listen, I'll take you out to lunch. I've had my surgery. I have a gift for you that I haven't been able to
I know.
I have a card now.
Unfortunately, my daughter, who is 7, she's autistic with a PDA profile. So her little body always thinks it's in fight or flight. And about 2 months ago, that required like all hands on deck. Could not be more than 5 feet away from her. She's just now bathroom floor right next to her for about a week straight.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I kind of shut everything off and was like, I focus obviously is going to be my my child, and I have a lot of neurodivergent children, but none of them have the pathological demanded for them, literally firing off that she's in danger like all the time.
I'm so sorry. That must be very frightening for her.
My wife and I are learning because this is not a profile we've ever any of our kids have ever displayed. So this is with her to give her the safest possible like space to exist in.
Well, when I get back from Austin, I'm been able to
And
continue.
you can
I
pick my
finally
brain.
have a vehicle. Yeah,
Yes, I'll be
fun.
happy to.
So,
And pick my brain all you like.
so.
I don't think I've ever been there.
Yeah, I used to like that place. It was pretty fun. Anyway, I loves and likes. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for
Crystal.
all the subscriptions. And T-Rock, thank you so much for coming up.
Good people.
So I will see you